Okay, welcome to Power Pivots, the podcast where we explore the stories behind the fundamental career shifts and changes that have made all the difference. I'm your host, I go by Hatu, and today we are joined by
Liseidy.
Liseidy. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad to have you on here. I wore my Cornell sweatshirt for you.
Reppin', gotta rep.
Exactly. For everybody who doesn't know, Liseidy and I went to college together, so very excited to have her on here. And I've been watching your journey and admiring it from afar. So I'm glad that we're getting a chance to be able to talk about it here and understand more today.
Yes, I'm super excited to talk about it.
All right, well, let's jump in. Let's get it started. So we always start with PowerPoints. So PowerPoints are 3 words or phrases that you believe encapsulate you, that tell us a little bit more about who you are. So that being said, Liseidy, what would you say your PowerPoints are?
I would definitely start with good communicator,
Okay.
super important. A creative at heart.
Hmm.
And the last one, a forever learner, always learning
Okay.
new things.
Good communicator, learner, and creative. Awesome. So I guess tell us a little bit more about why you decided to choose those 3 words.
I think that my communication skills have gotten me really far in
Hmm.
all my careers that
Okay.
I've
Okay.
kind of
Good.
dabbled in, but
Hmm.
especially in the one that I am in now. And also as a traveler, I think that it's really important to be able to communicate well,
Hmm.
just to meet people and to really have good experiences while you're traveling.
Okay. Good. Okay. Cool. So good communicator, forever learner.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just love to learn new stuff. I'm currently learning 2 new languages. I already speak
Oh wow.
3, which is
Okay.
just one example. But like as an engineer, you're always learning new stuff, so you have to like
Hmm.
want to learn. Like it's kind of one of
Okay.
those things where you need to be a forever learner, which
Yep.
um, I think that's why it was a good fit for me too.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. And lastly, creative.
Creative. I was an art major in college. I don't know if you remember
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
do. I
I was
absolutely
painting, and
do.
it's something that is still so much fun for me is creating stuff. I love to paint still. I love to
Mm,
draw still. And with my content, like that's a really creative outlet for me to be able to make all these videos and do the
mhm,
editing and everything. It's such a great
mhm.
creative outlet for me.
Awesome. Cool. And we're going to get more. I know you sprinkle a little bit of it in there. We're going to get more into the traveling and the content and how this is all made possible from remote work for you. But before we do that, I want to understand a little bit more about your story. So they always say that the story is told in hindsight, and hindsight is 2020. So if you'll humor me, Liseidy, put on your glasses, your 2020 hindsight glasses, and tell us a little bit more about how we got to where we are today. Mhm.
So I was an art major in college. When I graduated, I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I was like 22 years old, and I just happened to stumble into education through my network.
Mhm.
Actually, another Cornell grad was working at a charter school, and she got me a job there in
Mhm.
operations, which was fine, but I kind of hated it. But
Okay.
I was already in education, so I kept working in education for a while. Ended up at kind of like not a dead end. I mean, it was kind of a dead end job. Have you ever
Mhm.
watched
Mhm.
The Office? I hope nobody
Of
from that
course.
company is watching this. Have you watched The Office? It was kind of like one of those jobs, like one of those
Yeah.
companies where like
Yeah.
if it just like
Mhm.
didn't exist, nobody would care.
Yeah. Fair. Fair. We've been there.
Yeah, and I was just like, what is this? So I decided to try
Mhm.
teaching. So I taught
Okay.
art. I already had the art degree.
Mhm.
So I went to grad school for education actually,
Okay.
and then needed money. So I decided to go into teaching. I taught high school art
Okay.
in the Bronx, and I did 1 year. I survived 1 year.
Wow. That's
And
kudos to
halfway
you. Kudos to
halfway
you.
through the year, I was like, nah, man, this is not it.
Mhm.
And I just wanted something different, and I wanted a different lifestyle. I think that's really important is like, what lifestyle do you want, right? Like that should be
Mhm.
informing your decisions. So I
Mhm.
realized I wanted more flexibility. I wanted more freedom. I wanted more money.
There we go.
Um, and my mom is a programmer.
Mhm.
So I already had kind of like the insight there. And she had wanted me to study computer science in college, but I was trying to be rebellious and not like her and artsy
Of
and whatever.
course.
So I studied art. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I ended up being this anyway. So then I started to make the transition while I was still working as a teacher. And then once the school year ended, I stopped going to grad school for education and I went
Mhm.
all in into learning how to code and learning how to program. And then through my network, I was able to get an internship that turned into a job and finally get some experience.
Okay, awesome. Very good, very good. And we're going to dive a lot deeper into that. But there are two things that you said there that I thought were really interesting. Number one, you determined what kind of lifestyle you wanted, right? So you
Yeah.
determined, like, hey, I don't like how things are going right now. Let me take a step back. Let me figure out what lifestyle I want, even though I don't have the answers. I know what I want, and let me try and like work towards that. The other thing that you said that was really interesting is on each of those times, you leaned on your network, right? Like a lot of times people are like, oh, yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
degree will help you figure it out. Or like, oh, yeah, you just do it. But sometimes just having the conversations with people, like they'll be able to help you get jobs, they'll help you get ideas of where to go. They'll be able to point you in the direction of different resources. So the network, the network, the network, I can never stress it enough. So computer programming, right? And that's the field that you're in right now.
Yes.
Talk to me more about like what the thought process was there. Obviously you say your mom is a programmer, and it's something that you rebelled against, as most adolescents will, with what their parents say. But why did
Yeah.
you eventually decide, or how did you eventually decide computer programming is the way that I'm going to go?
I've always had a knack for like math and
Hmm.
logical puzzles and stuff like that. And my mom knew that, which is why she was always trying to like egg me toward that direction because she knew that I'd be good at it. And I think that she also knew
Hmm.
that I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
And when I was looking for a change, I immediately knew that I wanted to work in tech in some capacity because I knew that that
Hmm.
is where you're more likely to find a remote job. You're more likely to
Hmm.
have more flexibility with your role. And I knew that there was a lot of money in working in tech.
Yeah.
Um, so I was like, okay, how can I move into it? And at first, I actually considered design, right? Because I
Okay.
come from an art background, but I didn't really love the idea of graphic design or UI and UX design. The more I learned about it, like I did a little bit of research into it, and I didn't love that idea. So I was like, let me just give programming or coding a try, especially because I saw the different salaries for all of the different things that you could be in tech and like the career trajectories you can go
Yeah.
through. And the other thing too is there were just more opportunities for engineers than
Hmm.
there were for
Yeah.
designers.
Right.
So that is how I ended up being like, okay, let me try this. Let me see if I like it. Let me just take a class.
Yeah.
And that's what I ended up doing. I
Hmm.
ended up just taking a class at actually a local community college. I actually teach there now. I took a computer programming one class. My initial idea was to go to graduate school. I did go to graduate school. I did not finish, but I did go.
Fair, 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 fair.
So I just took the classes that I needed to get into grad school,
Okay.
essentially.
Got it. Okay, cool. And again, just highlighting some of the stuff that you said there, right? With these pivots, it's important that we're making research based decisions. So you just said it right there. For someone else who's looking from the outside looking in, they may see, oh man, how did she make that jump, or how did she make that leap? But it was clearly a pivot. Like you did your research, you saw different factors as to why you wanted to go into software engineering. You didn't just see the salary, even though I'm sure that was a big motivating factor.
Yeah.
But you saw the salary and the career trajectory. You saw the flexibility, which is a big aspect of it, right? And you decided based on that, it made sense to take a class, right? Or potentially pursue grad school so that you can really work towards that direction. And, you know, on this podcast, we talk about it all the time. These career moves are supposed to be pivots. They're not leaps. They're not jumps. So, you know, you being able to do that from a fact based and research based standpoint, it makes a lot more sense now of how you were able to make that decision. Has Power Pivots inspired you to reevaluate your career path? If so, look into Power Pivots Career Coaching. Whether you're interested in career discovery, job description dissection, or interview prep, I take a tailored approach to helping you understand your ultimate career goals and get closer to them. Interested? Fill out the interest form at the bottom of the show notes for your free 30-minute consultation. For any questions, email hatu@powerpivots.co. That's HATU at powerpivots.co. As always, pivot powerfully.
Yeah. I feel like it's such a big change, and people are always like, how did you go from art, like having an art degree, to teaching art, to being a software engineer? I'm like, it took
Mhm.
time. It wasn't like
Yeah.
I just decided and the next day I was an engineer.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Exactly. It definitely takes time. So, talk me through this a little bit more because you obviously know getting a job as an engineer is not easy. I talk to these
Yeah.
folks all the time. That you guys put in a lot of work to be able to get jobs and get interviews and things like that. So, let's unpack this a little bit more. How did you go about like taking classes? How did you know which classes to take? And then more importantly, how were you able to like secure a job, a full-time job with one of those big high paying salaries that we discussed before from that?
So the first class that I took was just programming one, so
Hmm.
computer science 101, and that was a
Okay.
summer course.
Okay.
And what I did was that I looked at the grad schools that I wanted to go to. I looked up a bunch of grad schools. I looked at a bunch of online programs, and I looked
Hmm.
at what their prerequisites were for people who did not have a computer science degree, right? So I didn't
Hmm.
have a CS degree, so I was like, what classes do I need where you'll still accept me without a CS degree? And those are
Hmm.
the classes that I ended up taking once I figured out that this was the route that I wanted to go. Once
Hmm.
I took that CP1 class and I really enjoyed it and I got a great grade and I actually ended up having a great relationship with the professor, then I decided to continue on with my education.
Hmm.
Once I completed that and I got into grad school and I started grad school, I started to apply for internships and to full time jobs. And even to get ready to apply to internships and full time jobs takes like a lot of work because you need to be ready for a real like engineering interview, not just like, oh, what are your best qualities? What are your worst qualities? You need to
Hmm.
be ready to code live in front of someone.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And it's nerve wracking. And a lot of that is, I took a data structures and algorithms class, which if you are a CS
Yeah.
or engineer, you know what that is. And that really helped me actually. I think taking it at that level, I think that really helped me prepare for interviews. And
Hmm.
it's just a lot of practice on Leak Code and other similar websites where you're practicing all of these types of questions.
Can
But
you give
what
us
really
some of those
helped,
websites?
honestly,
Sorry.
yeah, Leak Code is one of them.
Hmm.
Leetcode. There's another one that starts with Algo, but maybe I
Okay.
can send it to you and you can put it in the caption or something.
Yeah.
But there
Please.
are
Yeah.
a
Send
few.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. But practicing them really helps as well. And in terms of actually securing an interview, network. I
Okay.
reached out to someone that I believe was your year actually at Cornell,
Okay.
and he was working at the time at this fintech company. And I saw that they were hiring for apprentices, which is kind of a
Hmm.
form of an internship.
Hmm.
But it's more for people who actually don't have the degree, right? So who don't have a CS degree, who've learned how to code
Okay.
through some other way,
Hmm.
self-taught or whatever, or boot camp. And I saw they had apprenticeships, and I was like, oh, I want to apply to the apprenticeship. I
Yeah.
didn't get the apprenticeship,
Hmm.
but when the internships came out, I applied for that.
Right.
So I applied for an internship, and he was able to kind of like get my application to actually be seen, right, by
Hmm.
the recruiter. And from there, it was all up to me. I did
Okay.
my 2 rounds of interviews, and I got that internship. That internship, as soon as it ended, turned into a full time job. I think like 2 weeks before the internship ended, they were like, "Hey, do you want to work here full time?" And I was like,
Hmm.
"Yes, I do.
There you go.
Thank
There you
you."
go. There you go.
And
Exactly.
that's how I got my foot in the door.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I ended up getting laid off, unfortunately, from that job. But it led to the job that
Hmm.
I have now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how you break in. You're able to break into the industry. And I think that, again, consistently you are using almost the same formula of really going through and doing your due diligence, doing your research, doing your homework on all these different aspects of like where do I want to be? No, or knowing where you want to be and breaking it down like, okay, how do I get there or what different factors work for me, right? And then again, going through your network, right? Like some of this stuff, it really is just figuring it out. And cannot stress enough with interviews, especially software engineering interviews, how important it is to be prepared by the
Oh
time that
yeah,
you get there, right? These are obviously like once in a lifetime opportunities, or they're big opportunities when you're able to get your application seen and you're able to get someone to want to interview you for some of these jobs. So it's important to make sure that you're consistently practicing, right, and that you're consistently doing what you need to put yourself in the position to get the offer. So
yeah.
talk to me a little bit more about the apprenticeship an internship route, right? Because you were doing an internship, but you weren't in school, or were you?
Technically, I was at the time. I was in grad school.
Okay,
So I had applied to grad school and I had gotten in by the time I got this job.
got
But I
it.
did quit grad school after I got
Mhm.
hired full time because it was so expensive. I was at Columbia at the
Yeah.
time.
Hmm.
But I was technically in graduate school when I got this internship, but I was part
Oh,
time.
got it. Okay, got it. Okay,
Yeah.
but you had learned enough from the program where you were able to get your feet wet, and then were able to get real world experience that led
Yeah.
to you getting the offer.
Yep, exactly. And I already had, technically, even though it wasn't in computer science, I already had a degree. So I was able
Hmm.
to get that full time offer, even though the degree was not in computer science. It didn't really matter. They just cared that I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, yeah. And again, we're going back to those PowerPoints, right? Like, what are you doing here? You're able to communicate effectively, right? To be able to get these internships and to be able to network effectively, right? You're being creative with how you're getting the jobs. A lot of people will be like, oh, yeah, I'll just go look on the job board, I'll apply on LinkedIn. And it really is not cut and dry like that. And then lastly, of course,
Mm-mm.
forever learner, right? Like deciding that you're going to take these courses, deciding that you're going to go back to grad school, which is not an easy thing to do at all. Those steps are like clearly important if you are very adamant about making this pivot and making this change. It's going to take some work, right? And clearly, like
Mm-hmm.
you demonstrated that you've put in the hard work to be able to do it. And you know, there's no free lunch, and you see the high paying salaries. You're hearing it here first. This is what people do when they talk about breaking into tech or they talk about breaking into software engineering. Yes, the sticker price is attractive and it's good, but it is not easy at all whatsoever.
Yeah,
So
I think people see this and they're just like, oh, 3 months and I learned how to code and I got a six-figure job. That is not
mhm.
how it works.
Right, no, not at all. And this is what we're here for, to be able to unpack some of that story for sure. So I want to talk to you about remote work, right?
Oh, yeah.
uh,
I'm
as we're
passionate.
talking. I know you're very passionate. I've seen your content. I know you are very, very passionate. You're not even in the States right now as we're recording. I want to talk to you about why is remote work so important to you, and why did you decide that this is something that's going to be paramount in your career going forward?
A lot of the reason that I got into working in tech was for the freedom and the flexibility, right?
Hmm.
I love my job.
Yeah.
I enjoy programming, but I don't want it to be the only thing that I'm doing, right? I don't want it to
Hmm.
take over my life. And for me
Hmm.
personally, part of the way that I gained some of that flexibility back and gained some of my life back even is to be able to work remotely.
Hmm.
I personally use that flexibility to be able to travel while I work, which is
Okay.
amazing. But I
Hmm.
know not everybody wants or can do that.
Hmm.
But I still think that remote work can be just such a great tool for being able to organize your life the way that you want to. If you have
Hmm.
kids, if you have other responsibilities, if you even have other hobbies, do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like
Yep.
commuting 1 hour to and from work, that takes away so much of your day
Yep.
where you don't even have energy to do the things that you actually enjoy doing. And I really think work is important, yes, but your life really should not revolve around it. And I think that remote work is just one of those ways that we can have a little bit of that flexibility and work life balance.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest thing is having the ability to do what you want with your time, right? So remote
Yeah.
work gives you hours back in your day, like you said, or not having to commute, or being able to spend time with people or do things that you want to do with other hours that you wouldn't have been able to while being in the office. Like that definitely makes a big difference for sure. Now, I know that a lot of people talk about loving remote work and they're remote only and things of that nature. I want to understand from your vantage point, what are some of the pros of remote work and what are some of the cons of it?
Yeah. I mean, the pros, I feel like kind of, I'm living it right now, right? I'm out of the
Hmm.
country. I'll be out of the country for a while. So it's really great
Hmm.
to be able to be location independent. It's just a really great feeling for someone like me who loves to travel, but also just the time that you get back. Like I said before, even when I am home, I can, if I wake up even just a little bit earlier, I can enjoy my morning and have a nice slow morning and not have to run out of the house at 6:30 in the morning, and
Hmm.
still be, starting work at 9 o'clock.
Right.
Um, so, that is definitely some of the pros. Being able to have your own comfortable work environment, not having
Hmm.
the kind of office chit chat that is a little bit distracting. You can really
Yeah.
focus when you're working in your own comfortable environment.
Hmm.
That's some of the, I think, the biggest pros of remote work, but it does have cons. I think sometimes there are things that could be solved a lot more easily if you have some FaceTime with someone. And I
Hmm.
think that is why I don't love asynchronous work, for example. I like at least being a few hours a day working at the same time as my coworkers, in case something does come up and we need to have a quick meeting. It makes it easier, but I think you do lose that kind of, oh, this could have been solved faster if we were just in the same office next to each other. I think also if you don't do it right, it can get lonely.
Okay. Yeah.
You can go I mean, especially now when you can literally get anything delivered to your house, like you don't have to leave the house
Hmm.
really.
Yeah.
So you can spend days without actually seeing another person if you live
Yeah. Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
So it can get isolating, it can get lonely. I think that there's ways to work around that. When I'm traveling, for example, I go to co-working spaces, I go to cafes to work from there. I join meetup groups where I meet other
Mm.
people, and sometimes we'll co-work together because we're all remote workers. So there's
Hmm.
definitely ways to get around, I think, the loneliness. And the other con, I think that I would say, is separating, right? Your real
Yeah.
life from your work life. It becomes a little bit harder when you're work life is in your real life, right? So your
Right.
computer is just there in your living room.
Yeah.
But that is definitely one of the things that I like to do is I keep my work area away from the area that I do literally anything else. This is just my
Smart.
work area and that's it.
Yeah.
And I leave it there.
Smart. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely helpful because I think with these kind of things, with any kind of lifestyle, people will glamorize certain aspects and
Mm-hmm.
tell you all the pros. They'll tell you what's so great about it and what they love about it, but they really won't go into the cons. And I don't think that I've heard a lot of people talk outwardly about the cons of remote work, but obviously the pros outweigh the cons, right?
Oh yeah.
For sure. So it's definitely good to hear that from your perspective. And then for someone who would is looking for a remote role, what is some advice that you would give them of like maybe like sites to look on or how to go about that search?
There are a few sites that I have used in the past.
Hmm. Hmm.
Remoteok.com is one of them.
Okay.
WeWorkRemotely.com is one of them. There is Otta, which I think has changed to We Are the Jungle. If
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
are cool with working at a startup, you could always
Hmm.
look on. There's
Okay.
Well
Okay.
Found for
Okay.
startups. I mean, good old LinkedIn. You do have to be
Yeah.
careful with LinkedIn because they will say remote and then it's actually hybrid or it's actually in
Yeah. Fair.
person.
Yep. Yep. They'll get
or,
you.
or it's remote from a specific state. So if you're looking to travel while you're working,
Hmm.
yeah, sometimes they'll fool you there. But there are a few kind of like aggregators that they'll just like these websites will just grab these opportunities from wherever they find them on the web. Some of them are
Hmm.
curated. It just depends. But yeah, there are a few that you can definitely use to look for remote work. I wouldn't use any of the paid ones. I
Hmm.
really don't think you need to. There are a few that are paid, like flex jobs. I think the
Yeah.
free ones are fine, but
Okay.
it does take some effort.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. And I wanted to ask you about advice. Kind of looking back on your experience, what's some advice that you would give yourself from just your journey overall?
Yeah, I think the first thing would be not to pay to learn
Mm,
at first in the beginning. And that's something that I
okay.
tell everybody because I think that a lot of people see the lifestyle, they see the salaries, they glamorize it. They see the TikToks of all these like software engineers, like
Mm-hmm.
what I spend in a day and it's like $20,000. I think before you jump into paying thousands of dollars for a boot camp
Mm,
or enrolling back in school or whatever it is, there are so many free resources. I would have done that first. Like I would have done the
oh,
free resources first to see if it was
yep.
even something that I wanted to jump in feet first. It ended up working out for me and I'm grateful for
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that I would have said, hey, check out, freecodecamp.org and do one of the courses there and see if you like it before you commit to paying for a semester of college.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, even like education costs just keep going up and up and up.
Yeah,
So if there are free resources that get you to the same destination and within a time frame that still makes sense, why not use those, right?
for sure.
So, cool. And lastly, from your standpoint, what's next? What are you excited about? Like,
Ooh. What is next? Well, right now I just started this like full-time travel journey. So I've
hmm.
been trying to figure out kind of like how to share that experience with everyone on
Hmm.
my platform, on my Instagram. I'm really passionate about the remote work and wanting to share these resources with people and hopefully help people find remote work in whatever field makes sense for them. I'm also really just kind of in my career, like trying to level up and reach the next stepping stone in that ladder of becoming more senior level as an engineer.
Hmm.
And I thankfully work for a great company that's really supportive. So I'm really looking forward to where I end up in a year or 2 years as an engineer. And yeah, and being more creative,
Okay.
hopefully getting to paint again,
Good. No.
getting some
That's,
time.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, with the remote work flexibility, you get some more time, you know?
For
So
sure, for sure.
perfect. And I know I said lastly, but one more thing. Parting words
Yeah.
of wisdom. Liseidy, what do you have for us? Any parting words? People who have admired your journey, are admiring your journey, and want to do something similar, what would you advise them?
First, what I said before, consider the kind of lifestyle that you want, right? Like, I feel like that should be a really big factor in determining what you want to do for work. If you're
Hmm.
someone who really values, for example, work life balance, like maybe don't go into corporate law, you know?
Yeah.
So really think about what kind of life do you want, and then choose your career based on that,
Yeah.
or at least partially based on that.
Yeah.
And then there's no way to do it quickly, right? You got to put in the work. The time is going to pass either way. So you can either have it pass and get to your goal or have it pass and still be in the same place you were before.
Hmm.
And then the last thing I would say is to network. Use your network as much as possible. If you went to college, like that is your biggest resource from college, I feel like, is really your network.
Yeah.
That's how I got a couple of my jobs. And that's even just a good way to reach out to people who are already doing the thing that you want to do. Learn
Hmm.
more, use your network.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, there you have it, y'all. There you have it. There you have it. Sadie, thank you so much for making time
Thank
to do
you.
this and sharing all this with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
Of course, of course, of course. And thank you all for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe for more. Most importantly, pivot powerfully. Be well, everyone.